Hey, can you hear me?
Hello?
Hey,
Wait, why can't I hear you?
um,
Oh, there we go. Okay.
okay.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure it worked because I think some people were concerned that this was technically not going to work very well. So,
No, Zoom is super easy. This will be fine. I'm gonna try to share my screen just to test it out.
okay. Oh, that's good. We could at least make sure that works. Awesome.
Let's see. Yeah, so you can see the PowerPoint?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see me too or just the screen?
Yeah, I can see you too.
Oh, nice. All right, I'm gonna turn that off. That's unnecessary. Let's see.
Nice PowerPoint.
Thank you.
Very Memorial Park color.
One of the like pre-made backgrounds, and it was easy.
Hi.
Hey, Danielle.
Hi, how are you guys?
Good.
Hi, Rod.
Hi,
Hi,
Rob.
Christina, how are you?
Good. How are you?
And Danielle, how are you?
I'm good, I'm good.
Good. Hard to believe this is the way we're meeting.
I know. It's crazy.
Well, at least Kevin doesn't have to drive an hour and a half after the meeting.
I don't mind this at all, actually.
What's that?
I don't mind this at all.
I bet you don't. So Christina, how's everything at home?
It's okay. We're taking it day by day.
Everybody healthy?
I think the kids are bored, but
I bet.
we're both working. So
Is that little one getting bigger and bigger?
yeah, she's getting big and very sassy.
That's a tough combination.
Yeah, she's at the age where she needs to have everything that her sister has, or
Oh, yes.
that's it. So it's great.
So in my family, there were 7 kids, so you can imagine what that was like.
Oh yeah, I bet. Your poor mom.
How mom and dad ever survived, I'll never know.
Hey, Rod, I wanted to make
Yeah.
one correction to the agenda.
Okay.
So we're approving the February meetings because our March meeting was canceled.
Right. Oh, okay.
So on the
that's
agenda, it says
February.
March.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, not a problem. And my recollection is, because we can only have the people who attended vote on it, and I have it down. I think, did Ryan come in a little bit late to that meeting?
I think
I don't remember. I think he might have, didn't he?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
That
I
was
think
Though
I-
compared to what's happened since then.
Oh, I know. You know, the amazing thing is March, which was really just 60 days ago, feels like it was an eternity ago. Doesn't it seem like an incredible amount of time that's gone by?
this year seems like the longest year ever.
It is. It is. It's, well, and you just don't know what the next day has in store.
Is anyone doing anything for Memorial Day?
No, I don't.
So Dave's going cherry picking with his family and some other families. And I was like, Dennis, do you want to go? Because Dennis has been very antsy being inside. And so Dennis was like, yeah, let's go. And then I like text one of my friends and she's like, that is not safe. You should not be going out. So
I know.
we decided not to go.
Yeah, I know. It's a shame. And really, until they have the vaccine, or at least a treatment, it's
They have some treatments, right?
Widespread testing.
Yeah, I mean, no, the only treatment they have is that remdesivir, which actually helps you only once you're in the hospital and in bad shape. It reduces the hospital stay, but there's not a treatment yet. And I think the vaccine, despite what Moderna says, I think it's at least into next year, and maybe well into next year.
Yeah.
And I think until you have a vaccine, or a treatment that's been proven to work, I just don't see that you're going to have much in the way of social gatherings. It's going to be interesting to see what they do with the schools. Have you heard anything on that issue, Christina?
Not any definitive. There's been ideas thrown around. I've heard that they might stagger the kids like in the mornings and the afternoons, but I
That's what I've heard too. That's what
I
I've
don't
heard.
know.
Yeah. No, it's a huge problem. And I think the problem really is until we have a treatment and a vaccine, this is really here with us for a long period of time,
Yeah.
probably into next year. And
Yeah.
because the more social interaction is, I think you're going to start to see these numbers start to turn up.
Well, I think the more testing you do, the numbers turn
Testing
up,
will help.
right? So
Testing
it's
will
like,
help.
which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Yes.
Because
Yeah.
you start testing, you're going to get more cases,
That's true.
and then you're opening up at the same time, and then people are contributing that to opening.
Right. Yeah,
So-
well, I'll tell you, for the health officials, this has been a challenge to say the least.
Yeah.
And it varies, it just varies where you are in the country too. I mean, it's amazing. Hawaii doesn't have a single case yet. Isn't that amazing?
That's
Really?
crazy.
Not a single case.
I didn't know that. I didn't
Yeah,
know that.
not a single
But
case.
you have to quarantine when you go there now, right?
Exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're quarantined for 14 days as soon as you arrive.
I mean, it's not a bad place to be quarantined,
That's true.
as long as you had a nice view.
Yeah, and it's pretty hard in Hawaii not to have a nice view.
Right.
How do you quarantine? Do you have to go to like in a hotel and quarantine, or?
Yeah. Jan, is that you?
That's me. Hello.
Oh, hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm fine. Let me introduce you to some people. This is Danielle Mock. Do you see Danielle?
Hello,
Hello.
Danielle.
And then you have Kevin, who's next to her. There's Kevin.
Hi,
and there's
Kevin.
and
Nice
there's
to meet you.
Christina.
Hi.
Hello, Christina. Nice to meet all of you.
Nice
Yeah,
to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Nice to have you with us.
Thank you. Finally, right?
Well,
Yeah.
we finally decided if we waited to do this in person, our terms might have run by then.
You just never know. You
Yeah.
just never know.
No,
I
it's true.
finally got all of your new name tags printed for the meeting, and we can't use them. So.
Well, we'll have to put them in the background, maybe. Huh?
Sounds
Yeah.
good.
We'll have them as a
Okay.
personal background.
I'm wondering if
Hi,
I can
Holly.
record.
Oh, hi, Holly.
Hello, people.
Hey, nice to see you. So, Holly,
Nice.
let me introduce you to Jan Wu. She's right next to you. At least on my screen, she is. Do you see Jan?
Hi,
Wave,
Holly.
Jen.
There she
Hi.
is.
Hi.
Nice
And then,
to
of
meet
course,
you.
you know Danielle, and you know Kevin, and you know
Yeah.
Christina.
I don't think we've met yet.
Oh, maybe not. Maybe not. So Holly's not only attended some meetings, but also helped us with the garden over right in front of where you work.
Very
Oh,
nice.
Yeah, did a great job.
Yeah,
I
and
think we may have everybody tonight. I'm hoping. At least nobody called for help. I threw out the life ring, but nobody said they needed it. So we'll see. I talked to Mike Serio earlier. Mike's going to be on. And I think Ryan, and I'm assuming Vance. So this will be good. Did everybody, Holly, did you get the packet okay? The meeting packet?
Yeah.
Okay. And you have it too? Okay, good.
yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to see if we have any folks from the public.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know. We'll
No,
find-
you don't.
No.
The council meetings have been really quiet, though. I mean, people
Yes.
do come on, but they're quiet.
Yes. Yeah. At least the one I saw last week was pretty quiet. Yeah, it was just.
Hi, Mike.
Oh, is Mike here? Oh, there he is. Hi, Mike. How are you? So,
All right.
Mike, let me introduce you to Jan Wu, who's at least on my screen, is right above you. Do you see Jan?
No, I do not.
Okay. This is Mike
Maybe.
Serio, Jan, and you know Holly Selvig.
Hi, Holly.
She's
Hi,
waving
Mike.
to you.
Okay, I see Jan now. Yeah.
Okay.
Nice
there's
to meet
Jan.
you.
Going all at once. I
Yeah.
maybe need to change the view to grid.
Yeah, the grid works better.
Yeah.
Oh, and here comes Jen. Oh, this is
I
great.
shaved and combed my hair for all of you today.
You know, we didn't recognize you, Mike. Oh, there. Hey, Jen.
Hi, everyone.
Hey, nice to see you.
Nice to see you too.
So let me introduce you to, oh, good. Eric, how are you tonight?
Good.
Can you hear us all?
Yes.
Okay.
Working out.
So let me introduce the two of you, that is Eric and Jen, to Jan Wu, who's kind of right in the middle of my screen. She's waving to you.
Hello,
And also-
everyone.
Also to Holly Selvig, who's also a new member of the commission.
Hi, Holly.
And
Hi.
and then Holly, you haven't met Eric. He was elected at the last meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission. So it's
Nice
nice
to
to
meet
have
you.
him back. Yeah.
Me too.
And then Eric, just to kind of refresh, well, let's wait and see. Who are we waiting for? Ryan and Vance. Yeah. And we're at 7 o'clock straight up. We usually start right on time. Eric, did you find the meeting packet okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
I have it on my phone right here.
Oh, all right, wonderful. Good for you.
My printer
Yeah.
broke.
And Jen, you have it as well, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah, and Jan, I know Jan does. Okay, good. We may get a little bit confused between Jen and Jan. I had a meeting earlier this week. There were 16 people and there were, ready for this, 7 Kathys.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
7 Kathys.
Who knew?
It was interesting. 7. Well, you know what? Let's get started, and then if somebody joins us, we'll take it from there. Does that work, Christina? Does
Yep.
that work? Okay, good. All right. Well, so I'm calling to order this evening's meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission, and I'd like to welcome everybody to this evening's meeting, even though we're doing it via Zoom. Hopefully, we'll do it in person soon. And I also a special welcome to Jan Wu, right in the center, and to Holly Selvig, and to Eric Overa. It's nice to have the 3 of you on the commission. And oh, there's Ryan.
Yeah, sorry. Hey,
Hey,
I gotta figure out how to turn off the dinosaurs.
Oh no, the dinosaurs look terrific.
I like
Okay, that was
No. Keep the dinosaurs.
all right. I did that.
Yeah, good.
That was
We make
left
up-
from a call with my kids were using it, so sorry about that.
No. It's just fine.
Okay.
We may have trouble telling you apart from the background, but
I know.
you know how it is. Okay, Ryan, let me introduce you to the new members, okay?
Okay.
Jan Wu, who's on my screens to the far left, she's waving to you.
Hi, Ryan.
You know Holly Selvig. Remember, Holly's worked with us on the garden.
Hi,
and she
Holly.
also attended several meetings. And then you'll remember Eric Overa. He
That's
was
right,
elected at the last meeting.
That's right. Good to see you.
Yep.
Cool.
So I think this gives us a full complement. The only person we're missing is Vance. So hopefully we'll hear from him shortly. And thank you to Christina and Danielle for setting up tonight's meeting. It's very nice.
It was all Christina,
Was it?
But-
Okay.
but
Good.
thank you.
Thanks, Christina.
Welcome.
So I think what we'll do is rather than do a roll call, I'll just call your name, and if you could just say present, hello, whatever you would like to say. And we'll begin with Jan Wu. Jan,
Present.
okay. Mike,
Present.
okay. Holly Selvig,
Present.
Jen Trahan,
Here.
Ryan LaFrance,
Present.
Eric Avera,
Present.
Vance is not, and Rod Kerr present. Okay, so that gives us a quorum. Open time for expression. We don't seem to have any member of the public here tonight, so we'll keep that open. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the minutes from the February meeting? Any
Yes.
modifications or changes to the minutes? If not, do we have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. And that brings us to the financial report. So Danielle? You're
You
up.
caught me daydreaming for a minute there.
Oh, okay, would you like me to move on to another topic?
No, no. I have all the documents right here.
Okay.
So we're going to do a couple of things. So first I'm going to go over my report and for the new members, then I'm going to go through a little bit through the statement. So I'll pull that out after I go through my report, and then I'll talk about the budget we're going to be taking to town council and how our budget has been affected, and a little bit about how the town council, the entire town's budget has been affected. So I'll start with our April report, which, as you can see, we're, a little bit behind compared to previous years. So we have a 12% surplus of $201,000. But what you'll also see in the reports is that we refunded approximately $71,000 in refunds, and we expect to see these refunds to continue. We're doing them daily. And at the end of the year, we expect that our budget will be at a deficit of $120,000, when normally it's at a surplus of about $300,000 to $400,000.
Right.
So what you should know about our budget is that in good times, it's fantastic. We're superstars. We're the only recreation department, are one of few that makes all of our money, pays all of our staff, with the exception of Christina and I, which are paid from general fund, out of our revenues. And we're completely revenue based. In bad times, that's a horrible scenario, because if we have no revenues, we can't afford to pay staff, and there's no alternative to bringing that income in, because it costs, I did the quick math, we probably have about $800,000 that we would need to bring in income just for basic, if we want to keep everyone on board and operations normal. And that's not easy to do when you don't, in times of social distancing in our current situation. So I'm going to pause there and take some questions just based on that before I go on to kind of going over how, for the new members, how our financial statements look and what they look like. Yes, Holly.
Hi.
Hi.
What is the fiscal year from what date to what date?
It is from June 30th or July 1st to June 30th.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
And just speak up because I can't see everyone on the screen.
This is Jen.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I'm just curious on the staffing, just to confirm there, everybody is still employed and on staff currently. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's how I've written the budget that we'll go into, we will be going into, but we will have to reassess that budget as we go along the year.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why we really felt we needed to go forward with this meeting today via Zoom, because the virus really has had a significant impact, obviously, on our programs. And it's to Christina's, to Danielle and the staff's credit that our recreation program is self-supporting. That's rare in the county. That is rare. And it's because of the quality of the programs that we put on.
Yeah.
And it's just developed a reputation. Virtually everything sells out each year. We've tried to keep the prices at a very reasonable level. We haven't taken advantage of our popularity. We felt it's important to keep it at an affordable level. And we have, and as a result, we have enormous participation in our programs. But now, as you'll see as we go through this, we are really going to have to put our thinking caps on to help Danielle and the team generate income so that we can make ends meet, keep our staff employed, keep our programs vital. And, really our preschool and after school programs are important for the parents too. So we have our work cut out for us. So
We do,
Danielle?
and we,
Go
oh
ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's if you want to go into the detail, that would be fine.
I thought someone else had a question. Did I hear someone else
Have a
speak up?
question? Okay. And what might be helpful for the new members would be to describe what these columns represent. Danielle?
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, that will help orient them to how our budget summary is put together.
I thought I had it open, so just give me one moment, please. So I don't have a printer at home, so I'm using two computers.
Okay.
So if you look at the start of our breakdown, you'll see each section has a department. We start with sports, we go to, and that's kind of self-explanatory. And for each one of these, like if, for example, tumbling, it's based, we have many contractors that offer our class. That is one of the huge successes of this department, in addition to our childcare and aftercare programs, is our contract services. And so, but for each contractor, there's a split cost. And so I don't have those in front of me, but for example, tumbling, when we say that we're earning 205, if you go down and look at expenses, you'll see a matching line for tumbling that says, expenses, and that's what we're paying out in a percentage share.
Right.
So, I can go through these lines. Would you guys like a really detailed, Jan and Holly, would you like me to go through these really quickly and explain what we're doing, what we do? I'll go ahead and do that. We have a little bit of time. So, kids sports, a lot of those are camps. Tennis is, we rent out keys. Tumbling is a contractor. Rookie baseball is we do ourselves. Rookie soccer, we do ourselves. Rookie basketball, we do ourselves. Softball and youth soccer, we do ourselves. In addition to that, what's not in the budget is this past year, we signed on with Saba as the home team for San Anselmo, and they pay us 10% of their income. It's not reflected in this budget because it hadn't happened, and it wouldn't really matter because the season didn't happen. So if you go into adult culture, you'll see some big numbers here that weren't budgeted. And what that is 23, our partnership with 23 Elephants that we offer theater programs through. And this is also adult culture is Kevin. And that budget's grown a lot since Kevin's come on board. And that's our age-friendly programs as well as our teen programs. So you'll see those two categories under culture. Childcare, this is Parkside is obviously in-house. The music camp, after school enrichment are all done through contracting. Kindercool, we offer ourselves, but we have somebody who facilitates it. And then specialty camps and camp sports are contractors. And then you get back into Camp Kid Mighty. That's our summer camp, and Robeson After School is our annual program up at Robeson House. You have special events and the ICC rentals, park and field rentals, kind of self-explanatory, but I'm happy to answer any questions, as well as you go down to program administration and you have ropes and rental income and banner hub fees.
Danielle, if you could also, just to orient everyone, and particularly the new folks, if you could just run through, not the numbers in the columns, but what the columns represent. In other words, original total, budget, just so people can understand the organization of the budget.
So the columns you really want to look at, I mean, there's a lot of extra numbers in here because I tried, it's funny, because I got asked a few questions, mostly by Mike, because he's a numbers guy. And so I had to go to our finance director and say, explain to me what this number, and she said, tell him it doesn't matter. Okay. So I'll tell you what we pay attention to, and that's the current budget.
Right.
And then you have the period activity. So like under, let's stick with tumbling, you have a negative $3,051 on this statement. That means we refunded $3,000. Normally that would be a positive number, and that would be an income. Like below it in rookie soccer, we brought in $414. And so you have that period activity, and then the fiscal activity, which means year to date. And then you have the variance favorable, which is basically where we are in the year and the percentage of how much we've earned or expended up until this point. And 83% of the year has passed at this point. So when you look at the percentage column, you would want to kind of compare that to 83%. That's what you're looking for.
Right.
But a lot of our programs are seasonal, so that doesn't necessarily, the percentage wouldn't apply specifically at any given time.
Danielle,
Yes, Holly. Yeah.
And what is the period length?
1 month. This is 1 month year to date. So it would include everything prior from July 1st up until April 30th.
Okay.
That the fiscal activity would be the whole fiscal year.
Right.
Mhm.
So the reports, Holly, that you'll see each month, they are on a monthly basis. And
Okay.
then where you see the fiscal activity, that would be July 1 through the end of the reporting month.
Got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And you'll see on the first page that Danielle has, this is, until you get close to the bottom, this is revenue. In other words, this is income. And then you'll see about 7/8 of the way down, you begin to see expense. So the entire top portion deals with income.
And I did want to point, halfway at the top of the expense, if you go and look at, it's called transfers out.
Right.
That line. Many of you know this, and maybe, it's not always remembered, but that is our PERS balloon payment. It's so basically there's a catch up in our retirement system, which is called PERS. And that's the balloon payment for the year for the employees we pay. And it goes up like this coming year at $70-some thousand. So it goes up significantly. And we're the only department that pays it ourselves. So
It's because we were until recently the only solvent department.
and we will be again, Rod. We will be
Exactly. I
again.
have no doubt about that.
And then we go into expenses, and I'm happy. I don't know if anybody has any questions about specific expenses. I'm happy to answer any questions. Trying to see if anything sticks out.
I have a question. This is Jen.
Sure.
Are we obligated to, I don't know how our expenses relate to the camps and things that are canceled. Do we have any obligations to pay any of those expenses while we're also giving refunds on the revenue?
So no, I have some updates later about camps, and the simple answer to that right at this point in the meeting is no, we would not at all.
Right.
So we save, but we don't spend. So when I say our base expenses is approximately 800,000, that would be the bare minimum of you know, about $100,000 in just doing like operations, and then about $700,000 in staffing costs. And that's full-time staffing costs, so.
As we move, Danielle, as we move towards June 30th, how much additional fees, how much do you think we're going to have to refund between now and June 30th?
Well,
Roughly.
I put in we're having to fund ActiveNet periodically because there's no money coming in. So our first transfer was approximately $70,000. Our second one was $100,000, and we're still, Christina, have we had any problems yet with refunds?
Not since the second transfer. No, I'm still processing them every day and they're going through fine.
Good.
So that
Okay.
means we're still working on that 100. But when I run the numbers, like I said in my report, we expect to be at about $112,000 deficit.
Right. Okay.
And that will come out. The other thing, and maybe this is actually a good thing to know, because we've had so many great years and Dave did such a great job, and the budget has continued to grow with amazing staff that we have in recreation. We do have a very healthy reserve that is just recreation fund. It's $650,000 right now. The problem is we're going to use, so we're okay. If this goes through 2021, we will be able to survive it. If it keeps going, then we're going to have to make some hard decisions.
Right.
Because $650,000 is a lot of money, seems like a lot of money, but when you look at basic staffing costs, it doesn't hold up against it. So right now we're in an okay position, and we'll see how we move forward.
Okay. Yeah, a lot has to do with what we're able to do this summer and next fall, and we'll be talking about that shortly. So Danielle, do you want to and maybe we're going to do this, turn to the back to your summary page? Group
The summary page is for on the statement or on the?
It's page 4 of 5 on the.
I don't have the pack in front of me. I'm sorry. Can you describe to me what you're looking at, Rod?
Yeah, in the upper right-hand corner, it says group summary.
Oh, again, those are numbers that I actually wouldn't normally scan that in.
Right.
That's a page you got because I'm not in the office to scan and take that page off because those numbers aren't not important.
Okay.
Those are the numbers you don't have to look at.
Okay. Yeah, I was trying to reconcile them against the other numbers and was having some difficulty. So now I'm
We
glad
usually don't provide those because they're just.
Well,
confusing.
I know.
Danielle, can I make a small request? I feel like
Sure.
the point you made about the reserve balance is pretty important. Would you mind just including that figure going forward on your financial report? Just what the reserve balance is?
I can do my best to do so. It's managed by our finance department, and so I can request those numbers. But it's not always easy information to get, but I'll do my best.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
Sure. Especially going in these times, Jennifer, I'll definitely try to do that.
Yeah, if we could do it on a monthly basis, that would be terrific. But if we could do it at least on a quarterly basis, that'll give us a good idea of what kind of cushion we have going into and through this period.
I will put the request in for
Okay.
each month.
Okay, terrific.
And then do
Anything-
you want me, oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask if you wanted me to move on, but I'll wait.
No, that's fine. You ready to, you want to look, what were you going to address next?
So I was just
budget
gonna fill you in the next
Okay.
year's budget.
Right.
So the next year's budget, I've written it, and and with just cutting Some of our programs that we know are not going to happen this summer. Like very unlikely, but we're figuring out how to maybe run a few. New guidelines will come out June 1st and July 1st. Like
Right.
sports camp, we're not going to be able to do kinderpool because it's on a school campus and they're not letting right now, letting us on campus. So doing some small cuts over summer, we're at $175,000 deficit going into the next year. To balance our budget, we'll need to have $175,000 from the reserve funds. So, I mean, just doing the quick math on that, it's, you know.
Right, we have our work cut out for us.
Well, I mean, that puts us down to $363,000 in our reserve funds.
Right.
And you know, if I'm giving you guys an approximate number to get through the rest of the fiscal year, and that's not even canceling any fall programming.
And that is at what date, Danielle? At what point in time?
What do you?
When you said that we would need 175K, and that was bringing
That's
the
just
reserve. At what was that after this summer with no camps, or I missed
that?
it?
I just wrote the budget based on what I could foresee for summer. So that's with no cuts for fall or winter or next spring. That's just for cuts during this coming summer.
So
like I said, it adds up quickly because we're all revenue based. Everything is about our revenue.
Yeah, and so you were saying that's what we would start with for fiscal year 2021?
That is what, in order to balance the budget, you would have to draw on $175,000 from the reserve funds. Now, we don't literally take that money out. We'll just go on operations and then balance at the end of the year.
That's to balance the 2021 budget.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. So in other words, what Danielle has done is she's made some assumptions with respect to the summer programs and the revenues that will be earned and or lost. And we, in effect, have $175,000 shortfall as we move into next year's budget.
So, so that's what's going on with the budget overall. The town budget is also at a deficit. Their overall deficit was $750,000. We've found through savings in other departments, and also from our department, they took, I think they gave us 20% of Christina's salary. Other than that, they didn't make any further cuts to our budget. They found it within other departments, and there's about $150,000 shortfall. And I know the council is discussing personnel issues at the next meeting behind closed doors. So if you know, a lot of other towns and cities have had severe layoffs. I think San Anselmo in general is more fortunate than others because we're not dependent on huge sales tax. So, you know, we're hoping for the best. We're hoping to retain as much of our talent as we can. And staff is very important to Dave and the department heads. And so we're going to do our best to get through these difficult times.
We are, relative to our surrounding towns and cities, we are very, very fortunate in the recreation department to have this surplus. It gives us flexibility that most other departments simply don't have. But you're also going to see some ramifications of having to draw on it when we come to Memorial Park, but we'll save that for when we get there. Danielle, anything else?
No, I'm if anyone doesn't have questions, I'm happy to stop talking about the budget.
Any other questions for Danielle? And we can always follow up with them at our next meeting as well.
Thank you for your work on this, Danielle. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Definitely. This is not easy by any means. All right, that brings us to Kevin and Age Friendly, the Age Friendly Task Force.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm
Doing a
going to
great
go
job.
ahead and share my screen with everyone.
Okay.
Just a little PowerPoint.
And before you get started, Kevin, I do want to say that a few words for introduction is that I think you can find a silver lining in everything. And what Kevin is about to talk about is a silver lining that's come out of these difficult times. And our department has become a superstar because of these programs, and the council and Dave are very happy with our progress. So with that said, go ahead, Kevin.
Okay. All right, so I'll go ahead and get started. I'll start with a little bit of background on Age Friendly San Anselmo. So our first big step was we mailed out 3,548 surveys to all residents 55 and over. So that kind of served as a bit of a needs assessment for the senior community in San Anselmo. So we got 474 survey results back. And along with that, we got contact information for about 425 of them. Some elected to remain anonymous, but pretty good turnout for that. So we were excited about that, and that gives us a very good idea of what people need and what people want to see from our group going forward. So after that, so we use that with that contact information. We started our Age Friendly newsletter. The first one was emailed out on March 10th, and we also mailed out hard copies to 17 residents who don't use email. And so one of the questions on our survey was would you be willing to help a neighbor in case of emergency, so fire, earthquake, PSPS, and now this. So we were able to draw on those people that said yes, and get them to kind of help out and volunteer within the community. Any questions on the background?
Just one quick question, Kevin. Did we have any folks that needed help with groceries or getting to medical appointments? And if so, were we able to meet those needs?
Yes, I will get to that on
Okay.
some later slides.
Okay.
So this is a copy of our first newsletter that was mailed out. It's kind of tough to read it on here, but just to give you a bit of an idea of kind of what it looked like and kind of what it was. So if you want any copies of any of this, feel free to send me an email, and I can send these all out to you as well. So kind of since this will go over some of the steps that we've taken since the shelter in place order. So our newsletter was changed to be more of kind of like a weekly update to tell everyone kind of what events, classes are coming up this week, as well as resources that we offer. And also on our webpage, we built out an age-friendly resource page, which has about, I think, 8 different tabs. So it's tabs for food and grocery, culture and entertainment, exercise, upcoming events, and kind of things along those lines. And then also on the first page, we have two buttons. One is to click on if you need assistance, so groceries, medications, dog walking, yard work, kind of things along those lines. And the second button was to volunteer to help out. And so there were a couple different ways that people could volunteer to help out. So one was leading some classes, which I will get to on the next slide. And the other was doing grocery delivery and helping out seniors in need. So to give a quick kind of anecdote, I was calling some of our Ross Valley seniors when this first happened, and we had someone named Eve who was she's homebound, couldn't leave. She doesn't drive, so she was actually the first person that we matched up with. We matched her up with a preschool teacher who didn't have a job, so she offered to grab some groceries. And I've talked to Eve a couple times since then. And the volunteer who helped her checks in almost daily and drops by food, groceries, cupcakes, hand sanitizer, and things like that. So it's been a pretty big success so far.
Oh, that's terrific. It's just what we should be doing.
Mm-hmm. Any questions on that before I move on to the next slide?
No, really, just to congratulate you for doing a terrific job. I think this is exactly what we should be doing at this time.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people in need, and to the extent that we can help address those needs, we're all pleased to see what you've done in this regard. It's terrific.
So we've actually found that we have a surplus of volunteers and people willing to help out versus people in need, which is a good thing because it means that people's needs are being met, which is good because there are quite a few other programs out there like Good Fairy. I know Nextdoor has kind of helped out as well on that. So we have plenty of volunteers if we have more people in need.
Oh, terrific.
So our next push was door hangers. So we hand delivered 6,000 door hangers to homes in San Anselmo. So hopefully most, if not all of you received one. They were double-sided. One side was for our online recreation activities, so stay and play. And then the other side was age-friendly in our age-friendly resources and volunteer matching program. So this kind of helps spread the word about what we were doing and helped to recruit extra volunteers. So we delivered these. We had a Google Sheet online with every street in town, and so people could go on there, sign up for a street, and then come by the rec center, and we were passing these out in the parking lot to anyone who volunteered to help out.
That's terrific. And 6,000 door hangers were hung?
Yes. Yeah, we got through all of them.
It's tremendous. Great
Yeah,
job.
there were some families that took like 500, 600. I think it was good for the kids, the kids to kind of get out and walk around. So
definitely.
That was a big success as well.
Terrific.
So kind of where we are now. So we've collected 132 new volunteers since the shelter-in-place mandate from our emails and door hangers. So we have roughly like 330 people willing to volunteer. So we've used them for our check-in and chat program, which is just giving a call to a senior. once a week, couple days a week, just to kind of check in and, you know, have a talk. Because I've called quite a few people from our lunch group, and, you know, every call is 15, 20, 30 minutes, because people just want to say hi and want to feel connected. So that's big. Then we have the volunteer matching for groceries, dog walking, yard work, kind of things like that. And then we've also had quite a few volunteers to lead classes and other programs. So right now, our big thing is looking for new ways to use our volunteers and kind of make sure that they're engaged and capitalize on what we have now. Any questions so far?
I'm just stunned that we have 300 volunteers.
Yeah, so that's from our first survey, and then from the door hangers and email efforts.
Oh, that's terrific.
So some of the classes that we kind of have going on right now, all of these classes are free of charge, which is great for the seniors. So the first one is chair yoga with David Knox. He's probably had, say, 6 or 7 classes so far. He's been doing a great job. We usually have around probably 12 to 20 people for those classes, which is a pretty good turnout. Second one is gardening in the great outdoors reading group, which is led by Alexis Feynman. This next one is detect and connect, which is led by the Marin Aging Action Initiative. And so this helps you detect early signs of Alzheimer's and dementia and how to connect to the right resources. Next one is mindfulness and meditation with Linda Seabright. We've only had one of those so far, but I'm working to set a second date with her right now. So there should be another one of those coming up soon. And the next one, we had a class to go over some of the changes to Medicare since the pandemic started. So that was pretty useful for people. Last one is Heart to Heart with therapist Lynn Dixon. Just to kind of talk, share your feelings, and just you know, anything that's on your mind right now, because we know that mental health is pretty challenging right now.
Right. Like Governor Cuomo says, the question is, how are you really?
Exactly.
Not just how are you, but how are you really?
And for everyone who's homebound, you know, that takes on added importance.
It really does. Kevin, coming back for a minute to the yoga, is that done on a weekly basis, or?
Yes, so that is every Thursday at 11 o'clock a.m.
Oh, fabulous.
And the reading group is also weekly. That is every Wednesday. I want to say 5 o'clock, but I'm kind of blanking on the exact time.
Right, that's okay.
All right. So the next slide we will go over. This is some of the programs that we've started. So there's a intergenerational pen pal program. So we partnered with Children for Change. So we have about 20 people matched up so far. So 20 kids and then 20 seniors. And so that's kind of exchanging weekly letters, phone calls if they would like. So that's another way for seniors to stay involved. And then we're also looking for more seniors so that we can pair them up with students from Marin Academy. So if you know any seniors who might be interested, please send them my way. And the next program is our Pedal Pushers program. So we partnered with local growers and gardeners. This was spearheaded by Molly Gamble. So this is a free flower delivery program for seniors or anyone in need. So there's a page on our website. You can go on there and nominate a senior or anyone in need, and they will get a fresh flower delivery. So I have set that up for a couple seniors, and they've been very, very grateful to kind of receive a nice fresh bouquet of flowers. So that's a pretty good one. So if you know anyone that you would like to nominate, just go on our website and you can sign them up on there.
Okay.
Next one is kind of the check-in and chat and the volunteer matching, which we are still doing, but there just aren't that many people in need right now. So and let's see, the next one that we are planning on starting is a virtual buddy program. So this would be matching up kind of adults or students in high school or college, matching them up with younger students 12 and under who need help with schoolwork, technology, or just to kind of play a game and have fun. So this kind of came up from the number of volunteers we have that are willing to help tutor. So this is not live right now, but we are hoping to have this live tomorrow. So we're close with this one, and hopefully this is a pretty big success as well. And then my last slide here is just kind of a thank you to, first off, our staff who helped out, and then our task force, Sarah Robinson, our chair, has been huge, and then all the other members on our group as well that are named on there. The Parkside staff helped pass out a lot of our door hangers, so they were great as well. And then our instructors, David, Linda, Lynn, and Alexis, and then some of our other volunteer helpers as well, for pedal pushers, Detect and Connect, and then the buddy program as well. So that's all I have for my presentation. Any questions?
Kevin, just a comment from me. This is fantastic. It's something that I'm sure that you're really proud of, and certainly makes me proud to be a part of this town. This is fantastic programming. You're doing a lot of really great work, and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to echo the same comments. I think this is absolutely tremendous. I think there, given the senior population in San Anselmo, there are a lot of people that are by themselves, that are isolated at this time. And this really gives them, this is a way for them to connect with the community. And people often are afraid to ask for help. And I think it's impressive that we have the number of volunteers that we have, that we're able to reach out and let people know that we're here, and if they're in need, we're gonna help them. So thank you very much, Kevin. You've done a great job. Tremendous job.
Sorry.
Hi, I'm wondering if I can contact you about my neighbor who's turning 102.
Oh, wow.
And I'd like to just somehow celebrate her. I don't know if the town does that in any way, but she's lived here for 50 years and she's just great.
So we were actually planning on doing that this year. We were going to do a nonagenarian and centenarian celebration, but obviously that's kind of canceled. But yeah, if you can send me an email, I'm sure we can set something up for it.
Okay, thanks.
She deserves an extra large bouquet.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
At least.
That's very impressive. Anything else? Kevin, can you take your shared screen down? Is that
Yes.
okay? That way we're able to see everybody again. Oh, good. Does anybody else have any questions for Kevin?
I was just going to mention that prior to being a stay-at-home mom, I worked with seniors. And so the population is near and dear to my heart, and I love seeing that. So if you ever need help, perhaps I can partner up with you too.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. Appreciate
Good.
that.
Thank you, Jan. Okay, and one of the advantages of doing this via Zoom is Kevin used to commute 2 hours after our meetings to go home to the South Peninsula. So today his commute today is a matter of seconds.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Thanks, Kevin. Okay, so this brings us to the discussion items. And so this is back to you, Danielle. Recreation operations and the impact of the virus.
All right, well, you guys have heard a little bit about the impact on the budget, and I am involved daily, weekly with recreation directors across the county, across the state. I'm on Zoom meetings discussing solutions and opportunities for our current circumstances. And so that's going really well. I'm on the county advisory team to come up with guidelines to help for outdoor recreation. And hopefully those are going to be coming out June 1st. So we'll hear about an update then, and hopefully that will open up some things, fingers crossed. There's a lot of teams working on that. The amount of groups is just insane. I cannot imagine what Max and Matt from the county are going through. I hear they answer emails at all times of the night. And so the county's putting a lot of work into it. And so are we, and we're staying in touch with what's going on. So that's kind of what's going on with recreation operations in general. If you guys want to hear some cool ideas that have come out of different towns, one town did, it was called CouchCon, and they offered classes, 30-minute classes, 1 hour, and then 1.5 hour classes. And they offered, like, I don't know, between 30 to 70 classes. I forget the number. And it was just everything from how to tie a sailor's knot to a talk from the PD to jazzercise. And you could literally surf from class to class as a family throughout the evening. And the classes were like $5, $10, and $15. But just some really cool ideas to keep our community engaged. I think it's really important to keep the kids in mind. You know, they're so isolated, they don't understand it. Any socialization we can give them, even if it's only virtually, we want to do that. And so speaking of virtual, some of the things that we have pivoted, the first thing we pivoted on was what Kevin just discussed, was age friendly. And we were, you know, kind of a front runner in that amongst other towns in the county. And a lot of people took our example and ran with it. So again, we're very, like you guys all said, we're very proud of it. And then we've also pivoted. Our theater group, 23 Elephants, is offering summer programming virtually. Kevin's working on getting that up online and getting it email blasted out. Our Studio for Art group teacher is going virtual this summer, and that will be going out. I sent out an email, and I'll kind of roll right into summer camps if that's okay, Rod.
Sure, definitely.
I sent out an email to blast to our entire ActiveNet family, which is all of our families that have participated in programs, saying that we are trying to open camp starting July 6th. I wanted to open June 15th, but July 6th is the Monday after 4th of July. Gives us a couple more weeks to get safety procedures in place. We have a mixed bag. You know, I was talking to Christina before the meeting. We have half the families wanting refunds, half the families saying, please provide childcare. I need to go back to work. So we're doing our best to get some programs up and running. It will not look anything like we have seen in the past. It will be social distancing. It will include, kids don't wear masks, but it includes social distancing, scheduled bathroom visits by the groups, check-ins, start times and at different times. I mean, the whole list. I've been on so many calls. I've done so much research, and so now's the time to start putting some stuff into action. So that's where we're at with summer camps. I'm hoping that we'll be able to provide some sports camps, but we won't know more until June 1st. Like I said, I want to provide skate camps. Non-shared equipment is the issue, right? So on sports, so skateboards are their own. You can do soccer camp, but only do drills. Right. Have kids bring their own ball or mark their ball. The tennis courts have opened, and I'll get a little bit into that in our next item, but you can do one-on-one instruction. It's really interesting, the guidelines they've come up with, where you have to wear a glove on your non-dominant hand. You can, I know people have probably heard all the funny things about you can only kick a tennis ball, but basically, you know, you're not supposed to touch it only with your non-dominant hand that's gloved, and then use your tennis racket. And there's all these guidelines. That's kind of what's going on with summer camps. I'll pause there and take any questions.
So thank you. At this time, how confident are you that any camps will open July 1st?
I'm 100% confident that we will have kids camps open on July 6th. What ages, I'm not sure of. It's harder to separate preschool children. However, Mill Valley opened up their camps this week on Monday. Right. And they're offering from ages under 5 all across the board. And they just came up with a system, checklists. They created, teams where you have an administrator, which would be someone like myself, who would check in the kids, clean the restrooms after they use it. Then you have teachers that would be somebody like Lori, who's in the classroom, or Dawn, and then a part-time staff that would be with her in the classroom. You would have to have pouches for each separate child. You kind of tape off. These ideas that people come up with are just amazing. Squares and color, and you call it their rocket ship. Everyone has to stay in their rocket ship. My rocket ship is blue. So, you kind of color coordinate everything blue for that child. Definite precautions, but we're able to do it. So 100% confident that we'll provide summer camps at least to school-age children.
Yeah.
Yes,
Jen?
Jen. How do you feel staffing is going to go?
How do I feel about staffing is going to go?
Staffing, yes. Do you have?
Yes.
Would you be comfortable with college-age kids? Do you have full-time staff that would jump in?
Well, our first line will be full-time staff because they're obviously my priority to keep employed. And then second would be, we do have some part-timers, but if we have a CIT program where the kids can apply to do that, and I think they pay like $150 a summer. Christina or Kevin, do you know off the top of your head?
A little bit under 100. I want to say like $90.
And they can go ahead.
I would just wonder if parents are comfortable with that now or not.
I think that if parents are either comfortable with it or they're not, and if they're not, then they don't participate. I mean, we've had some angry emails like, how can you just run summer camps? How dare you? And, my response is, if you're not comfortable, we're happy to, we're giving 100% refunds. We're not trying to keep a dime, not a processing fee. If people are not comfortable, they should keep their children at home.
Right.
Conversely, you have a large group that really wants them to happen.
Sure. Yeah.
It's an individual choice, and so each family has to make that. And there'll be a parent, orientation on Zoom for 100 people. We'll go through what our procedures are, how we're going to run things, and if at that point they decide I'm not comfortable with this, then they can pull their child out, and we'll give them a full refund.
I'm thinking more along the lines of you're going to go through all this incredible work to get the camps off the ground. I hope that the staff that you're able to secure is able to meet your standards, because I'm sure that's another challenge that you have to figure out as you're moving through all of this.
I think getting staff buy-in is difficult because, they're scared too. Some staff are scared. But at the end of the day, if we're not operating, then we can't have people working. So
Sure.
either, if people staff will have to make their own choices. And if they're completely not comfortable with working within the environment that we can provide them work within, then that will be a discussion with HR, and we'll deal with that too.
Sounds
I
good.
think we're going to see, I'm sure, a variety of responses on the part of parents, because there are obviously going to be some people who are going to be reluctant to have their children in that kind of an environment with other kids. Social distancing is not easy with 6, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. It's very difficult. But it's interesting. I've looked at some programs that they're doing actually back in New York, in Lincoln Park, in Brooklyn. You have to be resourceful at these times. They've got fields that are where they've spray painted lanes for soccer practices. They've got circles for a whole variety of games. They've actually set up baseball diamonds. The kids can only go within certain areas. And I think, that's what Danielle and her staff are going to try to do. We have a lot of parents who depend on our summer camps really as kind of a daycare, and also as a way for them to get outdoor recreational opportunities. So I think it's impressive what Danielle and the group are trying to do. It's not easy, no question about it.
And I think that was sorry, Ron.
No, I was just going to say, and I know that you're very concerned about maintaining a very high health and safety protocol standard, which we obviously have to do.
Right. And that's also why I didn't want to be the first one to get out of the gate. That's why I pushed it back to July 6th.
Right.
Because that gives us 2 more orders, June 1st and July 1st.
Right.
And it gives us 6 weeks of planning to get everything in place. And if we only end up serving 24 kids, it is some revenue, but it's also important to think that those 24 kids who needed socialization got socialization. So we'll just do what we can do. And that's all we can do at this point.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead, Christina. Yeah.
Because Danielle, you're the one who's been talking to everybody on the health in the county and everything. Are they talking at all about giving us testing for, like, if we do start camps or do start preschool, like in Mill Valley, like, are they going to offer tests for people who, like, say we only take on essential workers for their children for the summer programs or something? Like, are we going to be offered more testing? Because I know as a parent, I would feel a little bit better about, like, knowing that the testing is more widespread.
So they've already opened up childcare past essential workers. It's open to anyone who's working.
Okay.
So those restrictions have been lifted. And as far as testing, what we do have as an opportunity is that as town employees, as essential workers, we can be tested. So I've already asked for whomever, all of us who would be anybody returning to work, I said, as a recreation worker, to be tested before they return to work. As far as the families and children, that's beyond our control.
Okay.
Right. Anything else from anyone else? Any other questions for Danielle?
And then
So-
I'll just give, do you
Okay.
want me to give an update on Memorial Park?
Sure, yeah. You know, what we're doing there and what the limitations are.
So this last weekend, they opened up parking. I'm sure everyone's heard that you can drive motorized vehicles. They've kept a few locations shut in town, and I don't know them off the top of my head, but I know we're going to be reopening them after Labor Day. So after Labor Day, everything will be open up to motorized vehicles. Tennis courts are open. Right now, it's only to current key holders because the offices are closed. And the skate park is allowed to be open, but because we have no way of really controlling the kids from gathering and congregating,
Right.
because we don't have a tenant out there, we don't have a gate, it's kind of just an open thing. We kept ours gated. I don't know how long that will go on. It'll be up to we're going along with Corte Madera, Larkspur, and San Anselmo with working with Central Marin Police Authority on best practices. Picnic tables are stacked, although they get unstacked every weekend by, anti-government groups. And the playgrounds are off limits. So any touch surfaces are off limits. So that's where we're at with Memorial Park. And I know Rod had some stuff to add.
Yeah, also, just before I forget, Danielle, and you may have mentioned it, I may have missed it. When is the rec department's office going to open?
So originally everything changes so quickly, right? So originally I was going to have people come in after this weekend. Christine asked me the same question before the meeting, and this is news to Kevin. But Dave and I had discussed all that. I came up in department head meeting today that we're not allowed to open. I mean, technically, unless we're essential workers, which if and when we open camp, we would need to be opened. But until that order is lifted,
I see.
we can't reopen. So if June 1st order allows us to, the soonest will, by the time we implement, kind of a site plan, which I'm working on now, about procedures and washing hands and how we take customers. It would take at least till the second week in June to get us back. That would be the earliest right now, I
Okay.
think,
Okay.
that we would open our doors to the
Open
public.
the office itself. Okay.
Mhm.
And then the idea is the summer camps would begin on July the 6th after
Correct.
the July 4th holiday. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. So let me bring folks up to date on the renovation of the park. So before the virus, what we had done, we had a large meeting of a number of people, and I brought the commission up to date on this back in our March meeting. And that meeting took place. And what resulted from that is the creation of a topo map for the entire park, all areas of the park. And what is being added to it now and should be completed by the end of this month are all the utilities. So we understand what the infrastructure is beneath the surface. So when any grading is done, we know where the utility lines are, and there are a lot that are running through that park. All of this, any work that we try to do there, any planning with respect to the park is going to be very dependent on the budget. And this is not just on ours. I mean, you've heard Danielle talk about, we had a nice surplus. We had a $650,000 surplus to which we were going to be able to add county park and state park funds. And this is obviously all pre-virus. And what we were going to do is kind of phase the work, focusing primarily on the areas that get the most use, the fields and the playground. Now what we have to do is, the town is going through the budget process. Our department's going through the budget process. When we have a better idea of what the funds are that are available to do work, we will then begin the process of prioritizing what work gets done and what the costs are going to be, and reaching out to the community and getting community input on that issue. The earliest that work can be done there is probably after the baseball season next year, 2021, for a whole variety of reasons. But that gives us time to do this the right way. But frankly, we have to sort of slow down at the moment and see what funds are going to be available. And we'll have a better idea at our next meeting, because the town is actively in the, the budget process. And obviously also work, probably some will get done in year one, some additional work will get done in year two, but a lot depends on the fiscal situation. But at least we're going to have, what we've done is we have this survey, the topo survey, which is really important in terms of any grading that we're going to do. And we're going to be exploring, what we're trying to do is we're trying to avoid certain costs. Originally we had hoped to do a lot of ADA improvements. Once you implicate ADA, the cost goes up considerably. So we're going to have to take a very thoughtful, practical approach so that we can be sure that our park, particularly the fields and the playground, are safe. And that really is the highest priority, is the safety of the park. So
Hey,
that's,
Rod,
yes, Mike.
quick question. What triggers the ADA review?
Well, for example, if we change any of the pathways, for example, if we try to change any of the, for example, around the perimeter of the park, if we leave it alone, we don't run into ADA. If we leave the dugouts in place, we don't run into ADA. So it's a complicated process, and you can see that there are certain trade-offs. Because one of our priorities, of course, and consistent with the work that Kevin's doing, was to make sure that the paths around the park were more stable, primarily for seniors. So we're going to be looking at all of that, but we're going to have to be realistic in terms of the money that's available.
So in terms of prioritization, would you prioritize those improvements that wouldn't trigger an ADA review and
Right.
ADA related work? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think as a practical matter, because otherwise we may not be able to do any work.
Yeah.
That's the problem. So
Got
we're
it.
trying to, we're going to, and this group will be involved in that process. We'll be looking at a series of options, and we may have some options for the June meeting. It really, we don't want to be talking sort of in a vacuum or too hypothetically. We really do need to get a sense of what funds are available to us.
Mhm. How about the playground, Rod? Would the playground, would any remodeling of the playground trigger an ADA review?
I think possibly.
Yeah.
I think as a practical matter with the playground where we are, remembering what the expense was going to be if we did, really the full-blown renovation. I think the most likely outcome for the playground is that we stay with the existing structures. We improve the sight lines. We, where the swing set is, that probably gets replaced with a better swing set, and probably safer material on the ground as a way of trying to keep that cost manageable. In other words, we would stick with what we have, improving the sight lines, replacing any beams and other parts that need to be replaced, but it would essentially be the same structure.
Yeah. Okay.
And then the fields are You know, the fields are obviously the other priority, and that's going to involve grading and drainage and irrigation. But you really have to do the drainage there, otherwise you're not throwing the money away, but you're coming close to it.
Yeah.
You know, we just need to do that right. Holly, you had a question?
Yeah, I
Yep.
have two questions. One is maybe more for Danielle related to reopening the playground. Has there been any discussion about like that we will need to clean or disinfect the play equipment before we open? And what are the financial ramifications of that? If there's a scheduled cleaning, or can you just talk to that?
Sure, I can talk to what I've heard on phone calls. First, a good thing to note with San Anselmo is, and it's different each city to town, is some towns and cities are parks and recreation. We're just recreation. Parks are under public works. Although I definitely get like involved in the conversations. What I'm hearing from other towns, agencies, is that when that time comes, which touch points are not in our near future, maybe in the fall, that you will have to clean the surfaces, and that will be a cost. Although there are some really creative solutions coming out of using like steam, different types of machinery that isn't traditionally used in this sense, and using it with, you know, medical grade cleaner that you basically literally can spray everything and walk away. You're kind of fumigating and walking away, and it cleans all the germs. That's what I've heard. But again, I'm not in charge of parks, so I don't know if Sean has a different plan.
Okay.
And yes, there would be, you know, that is definitely would affect our expenses as a town.
So
But
Holly,
we
on
don't
that-
use, sorry, we
I'm
haven't
sorry.
used our own playgrounds for our camps in a couple of years because they need to be updated. The line of sites aren't safe, and
Right.
and we have to keep eyes on every single child. So
Right.
Mhm.
So what they're doing, for example, back in New York, whether it's the subways or even out in the parks, is they're using sprays for the most part.
mhm.
I mean, they've given a lot of thought to it from a safety perspective, you know, both for adults and for children. So I'm sure that that the town will be giving the necessary thought to the right way to do it.
Okay.
And then Holly, did you have another question?
Oh yeah, I just was curious. You mentioned a safer ground surface in
Right.
the playground, and I wondered what you were considering there.
Well, we were looking, this now goes back a ways. We were looking, for example, at crushed granite, which is softer yet stable for the pathways.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to stay away, obviously, from concrete.
Yeah, I thought you meant like within the playground itself. I was thinking
That material.
like
Yes,
under
and
the equipment.
yes. I remember talking about this issue with Peter Arnold, the landscape architect, very specifically, and he told me what the material was that they had in mind, and I just don't remember the name of it.
Mhm.
But what I do remember is it was very expensive.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting at in my mind, because it's probably some of this rubberized surfacing.
I think it might be. That sounds like the description that I've heard. Yes.
It's a lot more expensive, and
Yes.
I think you might get some parent backlash. That's just what I'm.
Oh, no.
experiencing.
I have no doubt that you're right about that, because when we were looking at the possibility of artificial turf on the fields,
Mhm.
if we go back more than 3 years ago when we did the initial meetings,
Yeah.
We had an enormous amount of pushback on that issue.
Okay.
Yeah.
Holly, I'm just curious, I've never heard about parent pushback on the artificial or the kind of foam topping on playgrounds.
Well, what I'm hearing, and the school of thought that I personally belong to as a playground designer, is the artificiality of it, the off-gassing. There's also a question about whether it is safer because it doesn't give like the bark, the engineered bark. And so there's a lot more, for example, leg injuries coming off of the end of a slide because their legs jam into the ground and the ground doesn't give. So those are a couple of the things. And then there's the thing that I hear people love about Memorial Park Playground is that atmosphere that is created by the natural materials. And so many of the parks in Marin now are becoming plastic, basically outdoor plastic rooms. And parents are are picking and choosing places like Memorial. They love Memorial for being natural.
Right.
And
Go ahead.
I was just going to say in California, especially in the summer, the rubberized parks or the plastic parks are almost unbearable in the heat. It's just like the artificial turf. Like you can't touch it when it's too hot or in direct sunlight.
No, that's absolutely true. One of the issues we had when we looked at artificial turf for the fields was, on our days when we're looking at 90+ degrees, often the surface of that the top of the artificial surface runs around 130 degrees, just to give you an idea. So there are a number of concerns about using non-natural material. It also happens to be, for the most part, very expensive. We may go back to natural because it's natural. It may be better environmentally, and it may be actually more cost effective. But those are all issues that will be considered and, brought before the group.
Great.
Okay. So, any more questions about Memorial Park or any of the discussion items? That brings us, if not, and this one's going to have a nice short answer. Danielle, do you want to give us an update on town-wide events? Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted.
I said they are canceled, and Rod asked me why I put that on there, and I said I had to put something on there. So yes, they're canceled because we know that in most events until 2021, at minimum will be anybody over, any groups over 50 will not be allowed. Right. So they're canceled. There is a working group that I'm sitting on because I'm involved in economic development as part of my job. And so we're working on doing some downtown outdoor seating. A lot of towns are working on that project. And so that will be, small groups, tables outside. They say it's healthier to be outside. So that is something that will be a little bit different and maybe a different offering this summer, but it's as far as organized events. Picnics on the plaza, Country Fair Day, they're canceled.
Right. Yeah, isn't that a shame that Country Fair Day is canceled? It's just
a year off, but it doesn't hurt anybody. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's just such a wonderful event for the Parks and Recreation Commission and the town. We've always loved putting it together and doing it. It's
I think too, though, working with Cedars, they were like, because I was really shy about canceling them and waiting till the last minute, and they were like, okay. And then when I finally said, okay, we'll cancel them, they said, thank you so much. We were so concerned about our residents. So
I'm sure
we're, doing the best we can.
Yeah, definitely. Is their shop still open?
None of the shops are open on San Anselmo Avenue. I mean, they're curbside drive up it opened up this last weekend,
Right.
but you have to have something ordered, and a lot of those shops don't. We're
Oh,
hoping that June 1st will allow a limited number of people inside shops, but again, we don't know what happens on June 1st.
Oh, I know. Well, I think it's a difficult task for the county health department. These things are changing almost daily.
Mhm.
All right, folks. Well, that brings us to the conclusion of our first virtual Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. Does anybody have any topics that they would like on the next agenda? Wait, Brian, did I see you?
Oh, no, no.
Oh, okay. Otherwise, we'll be putting the agenda together and we'll be meeting via Zoom again. And again, welcome to all the new commission members, and thank you everybody for being here this evening. We all set, Danielle?
Yep, we are. We'll see you on, I think
okay.
it's June 16th.
Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Good
Chris.
night.
Thank
Good
you.
night. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay, good night, Christina. Thank you.
Bye. Talk to you tomorrow.
Bye. Okay.